Have you noticed something lately? You go to bed on time, maybe even earlier than you used to, yet when you wake up, your head still feels heavy. Your thoughts feel slower. It takes you a bit longer to remember familiar names. You read the news and have to go back and reread the same paragraph just to understand it. A lot of people over 60 tell me the same thing. Doctor, I don't feel sick. Nothing hurts. But it feels like my brain is covered in a thin layer of fog. If that sounds like you, let me tell you something important right away. You're not imagining this, and it's definitely not because you're old and just have to accept it. My name is Dr. David Warren. I'm 60 years old. After more than 30 years working with older adults, I've heard one question over and over again. Is my brain declining in a way that can't be reversed? And my answer is almost always the same. No, but your brain is working in an environment that's no longer ideal for self-repair. Here's what most people are never told. At 50, 60, even 70 years old, your brain still has the ability to recover. But it needs two very specific things. First, it needs biological quiet, meaning fewer low-level inflammatory signals quietly irritating your nervous system. Second, it needs the right support at the right time, especially at night, when your brain enters its most important maintenance mode. Many people think nighttime is when the brain shuts down. In reality, the opposite is true. When you sleep, your brain starts cleaning, repairing, and reconnecting nerve pathways that were worn down during the day. But if low-grade inflammation is still present, no pain, no fever, nothing obvious, that repair process never fully finishes. So what happens? You still sleep, but you don't truly recover. You still wake up, but your mind doesn't feel clear. The good news is this is not a dead end. In recent years, science has pointed us towards something very hopeful. Small, everyday food choices, when used the right way and at the right time, can make a noticeable difference in how your brain recovers overnight. In this video, I'm not going to talk about sleeping pills. I'm not going to talk about expensive brain supplements. Instead, we'll focus on gentle solutions that respect your body's natural biology, the kind your aging brain actually recognizes and responds to. If lately you've noticed that you forget things more easily, feel mentally foggy in the morning sense that you're not as sharp as you used to be, then stay with me. Together we'll look at how to help your brain rest the right way so you can wake up feeling lighter, clearer, and calmer the next morning. Point 1. Morning brain fog isn't caused by a weak brain, but by silent inflammation that wasn't cleared overnight. First, I want you to understand one very important truth. When you wake up feeling heavy-headed and slow, it's not because large numbers of brain cells suddenly died. In most cases I see in my clinic, the reason is much simpler. Your brain didn't finish its nighttime cleanup. Your brain has a special system that only works when you're in deep sleep. During this time, the brain slightly shrinks nerve cells, opens space between them, allows brain fluid to circulate more freely. This lets the brain wash away metabolic waste and inflammatory signals that build up after a long day of thinking, stress, and emotional load. But after age 60, something changes. Low-grade neuroinflammation becomes more common. It's not strong enough to cause pain or obvious illness, but it is strong enough to slow down overnight cleanup. When that happens, the brain isn't fully clean. When you wake up, nerve signals don't travel as smoothly. You feel foggy, slower, more forgetful. This is extremely common and rarely talked about. When this silent inflammation is reduced, many of my patients notice lighter mornings, less of that not fully awake feeling, easier conversation and focus, more emotional stability, less irritability. And here's the surprising part. These changes don't always take months. Sometimes they show up in just 1 or 2 weeks when the body gets the right support. I'm not asking you to overhaul your entire life. Just remember 3 simple principles. Don't add inflammatory stress at night, too much sugar, salt, or late eating. Before bed, your body needs a clear signal. It's time to rest and repair. Your brain needs calming compounds, not stimulation. That's why evening timing matters far more than what you eat in the morning or afternoon. I often tell my patients this: an aging brain isn't broken. It's just working in an environment that's too noisy. Our job isn't to push the brain harder. It's to quiet the environment so it can fix itself. When you start seeing the problem this way, fear begins to fade. And once fear fades, healing quietly begins. In the next section, I'll talk about a special group of natural nutrients that can calm neuroinflammation for hours during the night instead of working briefly and wearing off. Point 2. Nighttime is your brain's repair shift, and it only works when the right anti-inflammatory signals are present. Most people over 60 focus on the daytime, exercise, meals, medications, but they forget nighttime, even though night is when the brain's real work happens. When you enter deep sleep, your brain switches modes. Thinking activity slows repair and reconnection increase. At this stage, the brain becomes extremely sensitive to its chemical environment. If inflammation, oxidative stress, or stress hormones are still high, the brain can't do delicate repair work. But when that environment calms down, the brain can strengthen weak neural connections, stabilize short-term memory, reduce that static noise feeling in the morning. In other words, your brain doesn't need stimulation at night. It needs protection and quiet. When nighttime conditions improve, older adults often notice deeper sleep, fewer awakenings, faster mental clarity in the morning, fewer small memory slips, calmer, more organized thinking. Interestingly, many people don't realize their sleep improved until they notice their mind feels lighter in the morning. So instead of asking, "What should I eat for my brain?" try asking, "How can I help my brain feel safe and quiet at night?" Some practical principles. Keep evenings light. For both stomach and mind, avoid nervous system shocks. Sugar, caffeine, stressful news. Provide long-lasting calming signals, not quick hits. It's not about more. It's about timing. I often tell my older patients, the brain at night is like a watchmaker fixing an antique clock. The more noise you make, the easier it is to ruin the repair. Reduce the noise, and the brain does the rest beautifully. In the next section, I'll explain a type of natural nutrient that stays active for hours, helping calm inflammation throughout the night instead of just briefly. Point 3, not every nutrient helps at night. The brain needs long-lasting calm, not short-term stimulation. A very common mistake I see after 60 goes like this: feeling mentally slow, searching for a brain booster, taking it at night. The result is usually the opposite: lighter sleep, restless nights, and morning fog still there. Why? Because the brain needs completely different support at night than during the day. During the day, the brain thrives on speed, alertness, quick reaction. At night, priorities shift to reducing inflammation, stabilizing nerve signals, repairing worn-down connections. If you introduce substances that act quickly, stimulate the nervous system, raise heart rate or excitement, the brain can't fully enter repair mode. But there are natural compounds that work slowly, last longer, don't stimulate. They don't knock you out. They simply make the brain's environment calmer, allowing deep sleep to happen naturally. When older adults shift from stimulating the brain to calming the brain at night, they often notice less tossing and turning without sleep meds, deeper sleep early in the night, clearer mornings, easier organization of thoughts. And here's the key insight: that clarity doesn't come from stimulation. It comes from less inflammation interfering with brain signals. I often guide patients with 3 simple questions before taking anything at night. Does this make my heart beat faster? Does it make my mind feel switched on? Does it make relaxation harder? If the answer is yes, it's not what your brain needs at night. Evenings should prioritize slower rhythm, stable signals, nervous system, friendly support. I like to joke with my patients, the brain doesn't need coffee at night. It needs a soft blanket. When you stop forcing the brain to perform and allow it to be quiet, you'll be surprised how much healing your body can do on its own. In the next part, I'll share a very practical principle to help you structure your evenings so your brain has enough time and space to repair itself, even with very small changes. Point 4. Timing matters more than quantity. Your brain needs a head start to recover. One of the things that makes me pause the most in my clinic is when a patient says, "Doctor, I eat pretty well already. Maybe I just don't eat enough." But when it comes to the aging brain, the issue is rarely how much. More often it's when. Your brain doesn't process every signal at the same time. It runs on a biological rhythm. Before you reach deep sleep, your brain needs time for stress hormones to settle down, for the nervous system to shift from alert to repair. If supportive nutrients come in too late, the brain can't use them properly. If they come in too early, their effect may fade before nighttime repair really begins. Put simply, your brain needs to be prepared before you fall asleep, not after you're already asleep. When older adults adjust their evening timing, they often notice less bloating or discomfort when lying down, falling asleep more easily. Fewer wake-ups around 2 or 3 a.m., waking up with a clearer, more put-together mind. Here's the nice part. You don't need to remember any science at all. Just pay attention to how your mornings feel. Your body will tell you if you're doing it right. I usually guide patients with a very simple framework. 2 to 3 hours before bed, a light dinner, non-inflammatory, not overly filling 45-90 minutes before bed, send calming signals to the nervous system, low lighting, slower pace, brain-friendly choices. The last 30 minutes before sleep, no new information, no mental activation. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Even getting one time window right can make a noticeable difference. I often tell my patients, don't ask how much your brain needs. Ask when your brain needs it. When you respect your brain's natural rhythm, it rewards you with lighter, clearer mornings. In the next section, I'll help you turn these principles into a very simple evening routine. Nothing complicated, no pressure. Just enough for your brain to begin recovering within a few weeks. Point 5. The brain heals best when evenings become a ritual, not a to-do list. A lot of people ask me, Doctor, how many things do I need to do every night for my brain to get better? My answer often surprises them. The more things you add, the more tired the brain becomes. The aging brain doesn't like complicated plans. It responds best to gentle, consistent repetition without pressure. Your nervous system learns through familiar signals. When the same sequence happens each evening, the brain understands it's time to slow down. There's no danger. I can switch into repair mode now. When that happens, heart rate slows, brain waves stabilize, repair processes begin naturally without force. But if every evening you try a new trick, constantly change routines, worry about whether you're doing it right, the brain never truly settles. When older adults build a simple evening ritual, they often notice their body naturally slows down as evening arrives, fewer racing thoughts before sleep. Deeper sleep, waking up without that "my brain isn't ready yet" feeling. And this is important. You don't need to feel like you're treating a condition. You're simply taking care of your daily rhythm. I often suggest a very gentle ritual for patients over 60. A simple, familiar dinner followed by 20-30 minutes of soft lighting, minimal noise. No new information, one repeated activity each night. Reading a few pages, listening to calm music, or simply sitting and breathing slowly. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to include everything. It just needs to look the same each night. I often tell my older patients, the brain is like an old friend. It doesn't need surprises. It needs familiarity. When your evenings become predictable and calm, your brain starts repairing itself without you having to push it. Point 6. The aging brain doesn't need emergency fixing. It needs steady support. In this final point, I want you to slow your breathing for a moment, because there's an invisible pressure many people over 60 carry, even if they never say it out loud. If I don't do something right now, is it already too late? After decades in practice, my answer is simple. No, it's not too late. Your brain isn't a machine that's breaking down. It's an adaptive biological system. Even at 70 or 75, nerve cells can still change their connections, adjust their signals, respond to the environment around them. The problem isn't that the brain lost its ability. The problem is that its environment has been unfavorable for a long time. Chronic stress, silent inflammation, lack of true rest. When you begin removing those obstacles, the brain does the rest, slowly but steadily. What I usually hear from patients isn't, "My memory is like I'm 30 again." It's things like, "I don't panic anymore when I wake up foggy. I remember what I plan to do. I speak more clearly. I feel like myself again." That's meaningful recovery, Quiet, but real. If you remember just one thing from this video, let it be this. Don't try to fix everything at once. Don't chase urgency. Choose one peaceful evening and repeat it. Your brain doesn't need you to do more. It needs you to stop doing the things that prevent it from resting. I often look patients in the eye and say slowly, your brain has been with you for decades. It hasn't abandoned you. It's just waiting for the chance to rest properly. If lately you felt slower, more forgetful, mentally tired, don't rush to conclusions. Start with one slightly different evening. Before we finish, take a moment to look back at what we've covered today. We didn't talk about disease. We didn't talk about irreversible decline. We talked about something very different. The aging brain can still recover when you stop overloading it and start giving it the conditions to repair at night. You've seen that. Morning fog isn't weakness. It's unfinished cleanup. Nighttime is the brain's quiet but most important work period. The brain needs biological calm, not stimulation. Timing matters more than quantity. Small, consistent changes work better than intense effort. If you're over 60, remember this. Your brain doesn't ask for perfection. It just asks that you stop getting in the way of its natural recovery. A lighter evening, a slower rhythm, a familiar, pressure-free routine. That's often enough to clear your mornings, organize your thoughts, and help you feel in control of yourself again. I'm Dr. David Warren. If today's message helped you understand your body better, consider subscribing. I'm here to walk with you. Not with big promises, but with science-based, practical, and human guidance for healthy aging after 60. Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only and does not replace personalized medical advice. If you have specific health concerns, please consult your healthcare provider.